Watch for the price is an absolute steal, right? I mean, it's amazing for everything, and it's basically 10th. The price is like it's 10 times cheaper than, let's say, Apple Watch, right? So if I actually show you, I think I actually have two of them. I have the 6, I have version 6. So this is what I just bought a few days ago, right? But I also have the version 6 that I bought, I don't know, 2 years ago or whatever. I gave it to my wife. Yeah, it does. So as you can see, I also have the Xiaomi Band 6. I bought this one in February, so almost 2 years ago. So this one I gave to my wife. But this one was also amazing, so they're almost identical, right? Now I bought this one, and then bought these, like, colorful things, yeah. Does it require the phone? Actually, it does require the phone, but they are soon releasing version 9 Pro, which is gonna have GPS. Hi from Chile. Bastis, good evening, buddy. Thank you for coming to the stream. Dimitrovic. Are you not concerned with that shady company having your data? That's a good question. I mean, no. Am I concerned that Chinese or someone else is gonna have my data? No, because I mean, everybody has our data already, right? I mean, I don't have, you know. So it's kind of, I don't. You know me, Big Blaster, by now, right? My perception towards these things is irrelevant. I mean, your data is already there. You are on Twitter, probably. You probably have an Instagram, right? So, I mean, your biggest problem with data is yourself, not the companies, right? For example, you know that I don't have Instagram. I never have Facebook in these platforms, right? So, am I worried? No. I mean, no, I'm not worried. George, thank you very much, man. Good to be back. Good to be back. Anyway, I don't want to bore you guys with this bullshit. So what I'm gonna do, let's pin this music here, and let's maybe do some work, right? So let's see what we've done today. I mean, again, for those of you who are new here, I haven't streamed in 3 months. So today I kind of came back, and we're doing my Kubernetes cluster. So we're basically working on this. So we're gonna be setting up the cluster. So as you can see, this is a Raspberry Pi cluster of 4 Raspberry Pis with a MikroTik router. So that's what we're going to be doing. And yeah, so we're setting up Kubernetes, which is already set up. So this stream, we're going to do some Ansible, Kubernetes, and K3S, and some other pretty cool things. And I mean, actually, I'm a little bit surprised. There's a lot of people coming by just saying, hey, Alex, good to have you back. So thank you, guys. That's very kind of you. And maybe it's good that I wasn't here for a couple of months. Maybe some people were like, shit, man, that guy was actually oftentimes fun to watch. So that's good to see. Thank you very much for passing by and just sending a message. That's very kind. That's certainly, you know, the only benefit I have of this stream is fun and you guys. So hearing these things... Is that your personal rack? Yeah, this is my personal rack. This is my kind of, yeah, it's right next to me right here. But this is, I just have another webcam pointing there, so people can follow, kind of, right? Okay, cool. So let's do some work. So yeah, so what we've been doing today, this morning when I streamed while my kid was sleeping and my wife, we started, you know, setting up Ansible. So if you remember, right, I have 4 Raspberry Pis connected to my, as you saw, my router board, MikroTik router board 3011. And if we connect to it, right, we have 4 Ethernet ports here, right? Just to recap very quickly, so we have 4 Raspberry Pis. We have static IPs attached to them, so we have located them in the leases. So of course, DHCP has assigned them each an IP, if you remember, and then we have 4 Raspberry Pis. They're locked to these IPs, so it's more deterministic, right? And then we can, you know, I have aliases basically that we can SSH into every single one of them, right? I have a document of this on GitHub, right? My best man, good evening. So if we go to Kubernetes, and keep in mind, yeah, this is a programming network platform, so actually this is the platform that generally I build in this stream, but next couple of streams we're going to be doing something else. This is the repository that I'm going to be writing to this stream, but here I'm basically writing down everything about this cluster and current process where we are getting at, right? So just FYI, if you're wondering what are we doing, this is what we're doing. And now we're going to continue with that. So there's a lot of complexity. We're not doing it for the complexity. We're doing it for the reasons of learning. And so as you can see, there's a bunch of things. Okay, so Ansible, right? So we started today with Ansible, and we kind of learned that Ansible, okay, we knew some stuff, of course, about Ansible, but we learned some very basic and very practical things. So if we go to Ansible and open that project up, right? So we did the basic stuff. Let's recap that very quickly. We created an inventory. Inventory is almost like your host's file on your Unix machine. This is where you define your groups of machines and hosts, etc. So as you can see here, we have our 4 Raspberry Pis. They're basically aliased by RP1, 2, 3, and 4. And these are their corresponding IPs. And this is the SSH user. So, you know, SSH RP1 basically means, right? Then we have a playbook, our first playbook that I used ChatGPT-4 to generate. And as you can see, what this playbook does is it's gonna, in parallel, do apt update and upgrade on all 4 of my Raspberry Pis. So if we do like Ansible, you can see we have the Ansible playbook command, followed by the inventory. So, hey, give me the hosts. What should I apply this playbook to? And then we give it a playbook that we want to apply. And then we've also learned this morning that playbook consists of tasks. And tasks are basically, if you remember from JavaScript world, grunt and gulp and all of these tools that we use to automate things, they were actually not running in parallel. Well, this is running in parallel. So if we run this thing, you know, we will now tell Ansible, hey, you know, SSH into every single one of the Raspberry Pis or every single one of the things here, and then do whatever the tasks are telling you to do. What I want to do for this start of this stream now, just after the recap, is I want to build a custom. So basically I started Ansible custom tasks. I started reading a bit after I came back from the walk with my wife and kid. So basically these are the built-in tasks, right? Obviously we'll want to write our own Python. In this case, I'm not a Python developer, but we'll have to write some Python when we want to automate stuff. So basically they call these modules. And as you can see, we're going to create our own, apparently not craft. No, apparently not. So as you can see, this I don't know if I want, there's no specific thing that I'm missing now that I want to do. But as you can see, a module is a reusable standalone script that Ansible runs on your behalf, either locally or remotely. Modules interact with your local machine and an API or remote system to perform specific tasks like changing a database, blah, blah, right? So as you can see here, Ansible has a built-in apt package or a function or a module that basically does this. So you can see that's what we learned today. So once we run an Ansible playbook, it gathers the fact. Apparently this is an implicit task. Then it updates the cache. And then eventually over here it tells us, hey, what did these commands, did these actions, these tasks, did they actually complete successfully? So we can see for every Raspberry Pi, they in fact did complete, right? So that's great. That's great. Now, next thing that we could do is learn a bit about the Ansible Volt. Ansible Volt is just a way to secure, let's say, as a general word, to secure your credentials, your passwords, your hosts, your environmental variables, right? So we could try to take the what we have and then use the Ansible Volt. I think it should be exposed, and it is. So as you can see, Ansible Volt, if we run the command, we can actually do Ansible Volt -h. Actually, no, not really. view the encrypted file, edit the encrypted file, decrypt, create, encrypt string, blah, blah. So let's maybe try that, and then we'll write some actual Kubernetes. So we're gonna write some services. If we actually go to the document that I wrote, so if we scroll a bit down, we're gonna do some basic deployments on our cluster, but let's get there, and then we'll see what to do next. There's a lot of things we gotta do though. There's a lot of stuff we have to do. All right, cool. Yeah. All right, so let's try and actually let's also say Ansible, what was it? Ansible Volt, right? Because we're gonna mix it up a bit with ChatGPT and official documentation. So protecting sensitive data with Ansible Volt. So welcome to Ansible Documentation. Ansible Volt provides a way to encrypt, emphasis on it, and manage sensitive data such as passwords. This guide introduces you to Ansible Volt and covers the following topics: managing passwords, encrypting the content in files, and then using encrypted variables in files. Okay. Yeah, I have seen the ChatGPT search craft. Yes, I've seen what OpenAI has released. To use Ansible Vault, you need one or more password to encrypt content. If you store your Vault passwords in third-party tools such as Secret Manager, you need a script to access them. Use the passwords with Ansible Vault command line to create and view. Okay, but let's find something tangible here, right? So if I actually so what we do, okay, so first we need to create the secrets YAML, right? So let's try that. So we're gonna do Ansible Vault create, so create the file and choose the password. Let's say password 123, password 123. Wow, okay. Enable to execute command. So we need to run this with sudo, I suppose. Okay, we can't. Shit. Permission denied V. Why? Okay, because it created this somewhere in a temporary directory, and this so it's probably a permission type of issue, shit, let's try that again. So that is empty, right? Okay. So why would it wait, was it no? What was it? No. What was it, the command? I don't actually remember. So how do we solve this? Which ls? Let's actually try one thing. So what if I do something like the test? So why Ansible can't do it? That's so weird. This is also not a very great idea. Yeah, we can't do that. Okay. Yeah, let's ask ChatGPT. We shouldn't really be getting this. This is weird, but I don't know how Ansible tries to execute these things. So let's ask it because I don't want to mess something up. Yeah, but we can't do it with sudo, that's the problem. Command not found. That's super weird. Okay, let's see. I don't get it. Why can't we run it as sudo? Command not found. Why? Jesus Christ. Okay, that's unnecessary. Okay, we'll need to write this down. Let's try to solve this, because it's a little bit unexpected. Since Ansible Volt is located blah blah blah, which might not be in your path when using sudo, you can either use the full path with sudo or add the path for sudo. To make it easier, you can add home to the path used by sudo. Open the sudo's file. Okay, actually interesting. Let's try that. Why is it? Okay, that's weird. Default secure paths. So essentially, wait, let's see. So if I smack this fella here, so what is the difference? I guess it's gonna, we have the, let's see. So if we compare them, they're nearly identical, except we're also adding this thing. Yeah, maybe we can do that. Yeah. And Jesus Christ, how can I open this file with Vim? Undo, just cut text. Yeah. Can I do this? Nice. Okay. Okay, cool. And then we should try this. Wait. Okay, that's not gonna work, but if we try sudo, no module named Ansible. Or worst case, just so we're not stuck, we could try... Shit. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, this is a little bit frustrating now. One is not expecting it to go this way. Why would it not have permissions to create a temporary file? That makes absolutely no sense, and I have no idea what Ansible, how is it trying to execute the freaking command, right? Ansible Volt import main module not found. Ah, that really sucks, man. Is there anything in the docs at all? Ansible Volt. Thank you very much for the follow, Shahid. Yeah, that's so weird, man. That's so weird. I don't know how to get out of this state. I don't know how to get out of this state. I mean, I do have an idea. I mean, we could try that in theory, but I mean, we could say something like that, right? And in theory, that could fix it. No. Or maybe even do this crazy thing, right? Just give it more. How was it? How was it? Plus X like this? No, it's here, right? I don't remember. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it's an argument, you're right. Yeah. Nah. Permission denied V, so it's doesn't have the permission to run Vim for whatever reason. Why? This is so freaking weird, man. Like, I've never seen this. And it's not like, yeah, but it's okay. It's fine. Yeah, but I don't want to change it to Nano, man. That makes no sense. I mean, that's so dumb. Why would I do that? I mean, let's just try for this given session, right? Let's just change it here, right? To see if it's gonna be able to. Yeah, now it runs Nano, but okay. So that's so crazy, man. I mean, can we say code? I should misspell that. Wait, let's try. Secrets YAML exists. Okay, so basically, if we take a look at this, I see. Okay, so it's something with the Vim. Can we actually even do this? Because this is Windows Linux subsystem. Actually, we can, yeah. So what are we looking at here? Nothing. How come? But Nano is stronger than Vim. Exactly. Okay, so I can see what's happening here, right? So, okay, so if we... Okay, let's do a few things, right? Just for the sake of making it a little bit easier for us, right? So let's go... let's actually go to our ZSHRC, right? Let's go all the way down. And we're gonna do something like this. Oops. So we're gonna do that, right? And what else do we want to do? Actually, I guess we want to just get rid of this. So we're actually just gonna say this, right? And let's try code. And then let's source this. And then Ansible Volt. And now we have to edit apparently, because we have already generated this secret somewhere. So I guess edit. And then I say password. Okay, so this is a... Okay, what's... Ah, I see. Okay, so now we're supposed to, I suppose, fill in this file with secrets, right? Yeah, exactly, right? So now I should be able to say, hey, things like this, right? I suppose this is accurate. So if you try that again, password, yeah, exactly. So you can see basically what it does. We can see it generates a different hash for a file name every single time, right? So you can see that's, so basically it's just a temporary thing. So it basically creates a temporary file. So it creates a temporary file for the session, for the duration of the editing or creation, right? So I'm sure that, like, if I run the edit again, it's gonna nuke this file, right? This file no longer exists. It's gonna generate another one, right? So I say edit password Volkey.io. I've heard that Redis changed the open source license, and now Amazon and Google, some company forked Redis, and now they work on this under the name. Okay, let's Redis changed license. Let's see. Let's first discover what that means, right? Redis adopts GPT chat. Let's actually try. Can you summarize what happened? What does this mean for developers and who build their own projects or for companies? Individual developers building personal projects should see minimal impact. Redis core remains freely available under the Redis source available, blah blah, which Redis advanced Redis modules under business sources BSL can be used for free non-commercial purposes. Companies using Redis internally, internal use companies that use Redis for internal business purposes like managing it are unaffected. If a company depends on advanced Redis modules, so basically you can't compete with them. Which are some of the popular Redis advanced modules? Oof. I've actually used this before. Almost used this, but didn't quite. Okay, I mean, so to answer your question, like, you have to get into the implications of this, right? And how much it affects you. Most people, most companies, I would say, will not really get affected by this. Because most companies, I would say, including my own company where I work, including this project, Programmer Network, I don't use any advanced features from Redis. I basically use hash maps, right? Just to create some hash tables for quick access. But yeah, this is really bad. Redis is made by Red Hat, right? No. I thought that Red Hat owned these guys. But I don't know, this is pretty bad. Now, what you linked, I have no idea about this project. And I clearly would not, I would never switch to something new, right? So I don't care who is behind this. This is, you cannot compare this to Redis, right? So it's gonna take many years to build up the community, the knowledge, the documentation, the whatever, right? So who the hell knows? I certainly don't know. Alrighty, so going back to this, so let's keep on learning. Developing modules, we're gonna keep that for later. Encrypting content with Ansible Volt. How much is encrypted variables within a plaintext file? Okay, so let's have a little discussion with ChatGPT. So what should I exactly use Ansible Volt for, and what should I encrypt? Should I encrypt my inventory or okay, API keys, of course, database credentials, of course, SSH keys, of course. Gafood, good evening, buddy. Password variables, configuration files with sensitive data. If you have files, group vars, host vars with sensitive information, encrypt. Okay. Sure. Okay, so that's great, right? But we don't really have a necessity for this yet, right? And we will eventually have that. So so now maybe we can just move on from Ansible a little bit, right? For now, because what we needed basically is this maybe what would be fun, but I don't know, like, okay, so let's actually research popular Ansible modules, I guess, plugins modules, I don't know how they call them. 10 Ansible modules you need to know. Let's just do a little bit of a research and then we move on. Jesus Christ. This module for most popular package managers such as DNF and APT to enable you to install any package in the system. Functionality depends entirely on the package manager, but usually these modules can install, upgrade, downgrade, remove, and list packages. The names of relevant modules easy to guess. For example, the module is for the APT is APT module. Okay. So essentially that's what we're already using, right? So we wrote our first. So we are in fact using the APT, right? Ansible built-in APT. Then we can see there's the service module also seems very useful. So we have installed something, let's say Nginx, Postgres, whatever, then we can start it. The copy module, copying files from the local or remote machine to location on the remote machine, also very useful. Let's say that I have a file here on this computer that I want to just put somewhere on all of the Raspberry Pis. Very good. The debug module, print statement during the execution, can be useful for debugging variables expressions. Probably we're going to use this at one point. So we have the file module for setting the symlinks, creating directories, removing files, basically file management. Line in file. The line file module manages lines in a text file. It ensures a particular line is in a file or a place. So basically this is almost like a, I suppose, some sort of full text search, some sort of regex function. It's primarily useful when you want to change just a single line in a file. Okay, I can see how that can be useful, right? So if we have a bunch of files across different machines and we want to change the same config somewhere, yeah, that's a, so I guess you give it a path, regular expression, so, and then the line. Fair enough. Fair enough. Git, very useful. I'm sure that we're gonna use this. This is 100% something I already see so many use cases for. CLI, first available Ansible, provides a platform-agnostic way of pushing text-based configurations to network devices. Very useful. We might need this for our MikroTik router archive, so probably some gzipping and stuff. Yeah. One of the most basic but useful modules, command module, takes the command name followed by a list of space-delimited arguments. Yeah, so just working with CLI. Okay, that's pretty useful actually. So let's store this in some README. So let's have a README here that we will just keep updated. So README MD programmer network Ansible popular Ansible modules. Cool. And then maybe another interesting thing would be figuring out how do you in fact create your own module. So we write some code and then we say, hey, do X, Y, Z on each one of our nodes, manage nodes, creating a module. Okay, so it's basically a very simple module. And then we can, I read this already, then we can figure out what type of module is it. Okay, so let's try this. Let's actually try this. So what we're gonna do pretty much what they say here. So we're gonna do like all right, let's do it like this. Where is it? So we're gonna say library, and then we'll call it yeah, let's call it exactly what they said, right? We're gonna do this Python extension. Let's install that. I'm not a fan of Python, but that's what it is. We're gonna write some now. Installing. Okay, cool. And let's get all this entire example. Let's just copy it and paste it in here. Can I format this somehow? I mean, I would expect that the formatter came with this Python stuff, right? Yeah, I would expect some sort of formatter format, Python formatters, yeah. Yeah, so why? Yeah, that's a bit strange. Maybe it's formatting already, no? Huh. All right, maybe let's reload. Oops. Let's reload the VS Code just so the all right, never mind. Well, fuck it. Okay, define available arguments, parameters the user can pass to the module. So we have a name. And new, it's a dictionary, so it's basically an object, right? Cranberry, my friend, hey. No good, Nick. Hey, buddy. Good to see you again, man. All right, let's try to run this dummy thing. So /library test hello remote host. So I guess if I say -i and then inventory. So wait, so if I say something like -i inventory, right? Wasn't that how... Oops, oh shit. Went a little bit too far. So if we do -i... Ah, crap. What was the M for? Wait. Come on, man. Ah, I see. So essentially, yeah, of course. So -m is the module, -a is the arguments, right? So we are saying run the module my test. So give it a path to a library, Ansible library, and we're pointing to the local one, Ansible, which module, my test module, which arguments that we're passing to the module, these, right? But then also here, in their example, we are calling remote host, which I'm not sure if it's an environmental variable or something, or like... Yeah, so how can I pass it a playbook that I want to run for this? So maybe like this Ansible playbook. Actually, don't know. Use Ansible playbook command. Ah, you mean over here, right? Like this. Okay, so Ansible, okay, Ansible playbook, right? Then we go with the inventory. So we say -I guess, inventory, and then the module is this. But what is it? It doesn't like something, right? It doesn't like what I'm giving it. Yeah, it didn't quite like that, right? That's the problem. And then I guess, shit. No, but that makes absolutely no sense. Oh crap, or maybe we need to reference this module now in a playbook, right? That would make sense. So because we have this custom module here, in theory, right, we should have a playbook as well. So we should have like a, let's say, test.yaml, if I'm thinking this correct, right? So we should have test playbook. Oh, come on. Let's say test YAML. Then if I copy this guy over here, let's say testing a custom module, host Raspberry Pis, that's good, sudo sure, and then tasks here, we would have to reference this my test thing. So somehow we would need to say my test, I don't know if, right, whatever, and then here we would pass it as arguments, right? So name, I guess, right, name foo new true. I think it was expecting a boolean, right? I think that's probably correct way to think about this. And then we would not do this, we would say playbook test, right? Huh, interesting. Yeah, maybe. It's probably gonna fit. Yeah, so I think I did figure it out. Yeah, exactly. Oh shit, I removed the wrong thing, didn't I? What the fuck? Oh, it's because I changed the wrong thing. I see. So let's keep that. So that's why it actually worked. Okay. I was expecting it to fail. It has to fail. So this should fail. Because I... Okay, actually didn't fail. And what is this custom thing that we just tested is supposed to do? Did we get any like output here? Play a recap, like can I print something while doing this or whatever? How do I print shit in Python? It's probably like print. I don't think so. Really? Is there? Wow. Okay. Print function. Jesus. Okay. So it. I mean, it does. So I think that. So let's try that again. So I think the print function now is failing, most likely. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, okay, good. So this in fact works. So basically, how do we build custom modules for our playbooks, the tasks, as you can see? Well, this is how, right? You put this folder, of course, you have to point to it somewhere, right? So as you can see, you set this Ansible library environmental variable followed by the playbook, and then use the custom module inside of your own playbook, right? So as we did here, passing it these two things. Now, so there's a bunch of examples here and stuff. So we define the module. We define the arguments as a dictionary. And then if we run this state now again, so if I go here to this test and say bar, then this should kind of yield the 4 Ks again over here, right? Changed 1. If I run it another time, the change should be none, I guess. Not sure. No, it's still changed. Okay. All right, so I don't have an idea now. Okay, let's try like this. Let's try something like this, just to figure out if we got this correct. So let's go to ChatGPT and say, write a custom task like this that will print an IP address of each node. I don't know, something like that. I'm already having SSH access defined in the inventory, so I don't want to provide any nodes list. I just want to see the std out of IP of each node. Yeah, I don't think this guy is actually getting this what I want. But either way, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. So essentially, yeah. So the summary of this part of Ansible is just learning the so just learning the all of the methods that the Ansible exposes, all of the modules that it exposes, right, and what you can do with these modules. So okay, that's good to know. All right, cool. All right, so let's leave this here. Let's leave this here now. So I think that's okay. I'm fine with it for now. Alrighty, so next thing I want to do is let's play a little bit with our K3S, with our Kubernetes cluster, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to go down here to our deployments part. So let's basically do this, right? Basic Kubernetes deployments. That's what I did before. So let's actually start with a few of these things. So we can create a namespace, we can group services together, we can deploy a simple server, an Nginx, and then put it in the same group. And then followed by that, we can create a service, I guess, that exposes that. Maybe we already do that somewhere here. Ports, container port 80. And then, yeah, here we can expose the deployment. Type cluster IP, we need to learn about these types. There's cluster, there's ingress, there's, yeah. So let's do that. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a namespace, and we're gonna use kubectl, right? This is the core of Kubernetes. So we're gonna say kubectl create, right? And then namespace. Then we're gonna call it dummy namespace. So dummy namespace was created. I think we can do kubectl list. I don't know if this exists. Wait. Kubectl get. I don't know if there's get namespaces. Yeah, there is. So you can see we have the dummy namespace created. There are some default ones. And we can also get our nodes. So these are the 4 Raspberry Pis which are running. So you can see they're up now for a week. So now we have a dummy namespace. Now we can, that's what we did. So we created one. And as you can see, I created the namespace via the command, right? So we can either do it via YAML file or via, this is going to be a more common approach because it's declarative, right? So if we go now over here to the repo, right? Let's see if we have extra. So you can see create a namespace, right? So I have these exercises folders. So if I actually, if we want to apply this as defined over here, we would actually just apply that namespace. So what we can do, we can say kubectl apply f, and then we can go to exercises. Shit, it's the wrong directory. Let's go to CD Programmer Network Kubernetes, and then here we can, we can do kubectl apply f, and then exercises, simple deployments, and then namespace, right? So create a namespace. So if I hit enter, you're gonna see that the output is pretty much the same as running this thing, right? So for some of these simple commands, you don't really need a YAML file like to create a namespace. But once we start, think of this is similar YAML you're gonna write when you're working with Docker Swarm or Docker Compose or whatever. So fundamentally, for simple things like this, where we're just creating a namespace with a name, that's not necessary. But for more of the stuff like this, you need it. Okay. So going back to this, we have a namespace now. You don't have to have a namespace. Not everything has to belong in one. And now we can actually do an Nginx, right? So deploy simple app, as you can see. So metadata, the name of the app, namespace that this belongs to. Namespace again is just to group things together. Labels, and then containers. So the name is Nginx, image is Nginx. So this is probably familiar with this when you from Docker, right? So we're gonna do the same, right? So if we go back here, we're gonna do the same. You can do this with a command like this or with a YAML version like this, right? So we're gonna do the same. We're gonna say cube ctl applied -f, and then we're gonna say exercises, simple deployments, and then deploy a simple app, right? And we have a typo. So we have created the Hello World application, but we need to, I think we can do kubectl get. No, I don't actually remember how was it. Is there a help? So now we have created this deployment. Let's actually see. Let's actually talk to ChatGPT. I need to extend this. How can I list deployments, especially the ones without a service? Yeah, there we go. Right. So we can say, actually, why didn't it work for me? And then here we can say, so what namespace did we use for this one? My apps, right? Yeah. So this is what we're missing. So you can see that we have created a deployment, right, in Kubernetes now. So we have a deployment. So we're saying, give me all my deployments for a given namespace. And we have a hello world nginx, which is up. But how do we access it, right? How can we actually access it? Well, we need to expose this via service, right? So a service exposes this. So that's why I have this example that I wrote here before, right? So create a namespace, create a deployment under that namespace, and then expose the deployment so we can actually access it. Lenzo, my friend, good to see you, man. It's been 3 months, dude. It's been 3 months. Good to be back, man. Thank you for the sub, dude. I appreciate it. Happy that you still remember me. And this is gonna probably be one of the hardest thing for all of us to learn. Not hard thing to learn, but to memorize. There's different types of services. So this is gonna be probably a bit of complexity when it comes to our whole infrastructure that we're gonna build. If you wanna watch, today we started this series of streams. So yeah, we'll need to play with these services eventually and see what we want to expose where. So we're gonna be messing with these services a lot, right? So now basically, in theory, if I go to localhost 8080, nothing's gonna be there. Nothing should be there, at least, right? Hopefully, if my networking is done here correctly, when we expose this deployment now, we should be able to access. So it's the same thing, right? So we have the exposure, where you can run it as a command, or you can run it, you can apply it like this, right? So we're gonna do the same. We're gonna say kubectl apply. I think I'm also streaming like in a, and then -f, right? And we're gonna do exercises, simple deployments 3 expose. So now it's really exposed. So in theory, I don't know how my networking is done. We'll need to see how is it actually exposed. I don't know which port is it exposed on. Let's see. And we'll need to do some networking on my router. So let's see now what we did. So it says hello world service created. And then you can see here we can port forward it, right? So we can port forward this to something outside of the actual cluster, right? And that is the thing. That's because we have chosen. So you can see that's what I'm saying, that we're gonna have to learn together. I'm by no means complete beginner in Kubernetes as well, or maybe slightly 5% above a beginner, right? I think I'm, because I'm streaming in like a 1440p lens. So let me see, actually, give me 1 second. Because actually 1080p, that's super strange. I usually, okay, I think my OBS is changed now, but I actually streamed in way greater quality before. I don't know what happened. Ah, okay, got it. So it's not only me. Okay. All right, and then lastly, right, let's go to yeah. So let's expose it. So you can see now, because our type of our service is cluster IP, this just means expose this within the cluster, not outside of the cluster. So for us now to access this service outside, we need to port forward. And this is not common. Of course, you're not going to be doing this for production. But if I do this, actually, no, that's not what I want. I want this. I want to port forward it, right? Now, in theory, if we go to 8081, there it is. We have Nginx running. So now we have Nginx running on our Kubernetes cluster right in this fella over here, right? So this guy, all the way, this guy to the left is the master node. And then, right, so now we have, right, so here it is. So now we're, and now, of course, if I wanted to propagate this to you guys, which we're going to do, we will expose this to the internet, and I can do that already now very easily, but I don't want to do it just, so we will now need to do networking on our router. So on this guy, router board RB3011, but it's more complicated than just, what I want to do is more complicated than that, than just that, because here we would do NAT, right? So for example, I can go, just to save time, I want to do NAT on my MikroTik RB3011 and port forward one of my interfaces to the internet, right? So if we go IP firewall network address translation here, right, it's telling us, hey, click the plus button, chain, so basic NAT rules, chain, source, so SRC, NAT. So let's actually try interface, choose the WAN interface, the one connected to the internet, right? And then we do want to do the masquerade here, masquerading. Cassie, my friend, fuck, I think you wrote to me on LinkedIn, man. I'm sorry, man, for not responding. Actually, I think I got your message. I think I was at work or something when you sent it. You good, man? How's life? So choose your WAN interface, okay? Yeah, man, I just been focusing on other things. That's all. Nothing special. So let's try that again. So SRC NAT out interface. It says choose a WAN interface, the one connected to the internet. So what interface is connected to the internet? That would be the fiber interface, right? And then action masquerade, right? This allows your local devices. Hopefully I'm not gonna fuck up. This is my actual internet router. So hopefully when I press OK, my stream is not gonna stop. If it stops, you will know why it stopped. But it seems that I already had some of these things, right? Okay, next thing, set up port forwarding. Still in NAT section, click on the button and add another rule. Okay, so we add another rule, chain destination, right? So destination NAT, choose the TCP or UDP and the services you want to forward. Protocol, in our case, is gonna be TCP, right? Cyberpanda, hey buddy. Destination port, enter the port number you want to forward. So we're gonna forward 8081, for example. Or 8080, right? But that's gonna be our destination port we wanna forward. So we're gonna say 8081. And then action destination NAT, right? Two addresses, enter the local IP address of the device you want to forward, right? And then we'll need to see that. Two addresses. So what is our interface here that we want to... Enter the local port number if it differs from the incoming port. We'll see about that. All right. And then this would be the last thing, right? That we need to do for this, right? So we need to add a firewall rule on our router. So IP firewall, right? And then we need to add a filter rule. So we need to add, I have a lot of rules already. So we need the forward protocol would be TCP. Destination port, so in our case, would be 8080, right? And then action accept. And now in theory, if we could have messed up a bit, but if we go to what did I want to do? What did I want to do? Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds, so that should be fine, right? Wait. So that's correct, yes. Destination port is correct. Action destination NAT. Maybe the IP is wrong. Crap, maybe that is wrong. What would be the IP? So we would, reps. Good evening, buddy. I'm still alive. Yeah, I've been just gone for far too long. Cassie, I'll tell you in a second, but there's a video from today where I explain all of the stuff that we're gonna be doing. I think this is the problem. We need to figure out now from our DHCP server what exactly are we supposed to expose here, right? Because I don't honestly know, to be very frank with you. So basically we have a NAT rule that destination NAT port 8081. Yeah, I don't actually know, to be very frank with you. Okay, let's just try all 4 of these IP addresses and then we're gonna see what happens. So that won't do, right? So let's try this one. Nah, okay. This one. Nah. RP1. That's my master node. So in theory, it could be that, right? And then, shit, crap. Wait a minute. So I think the problem here is that crap, yeah, we are running this kubectl port forward here on my local computer, right? So that is the problem. So I see now. I see what the problem is. All good. It's just, we are doing this for demonstrating purposes now. This is not how we're going to expose this, that this is too basic what we're doing now. But yeah, but this is just for demonstrative purposes because I'm running the port forward here, which is why we're having this. So essentially this computer of mine has an IP of, I think this is most likely my IP here that we have to forward, right? So reps, this is not about Nginx, this we're setting up Kubernetes, right? So the point is just to expose it to you guys just for demonstrative purposes now. 8081. I actually don't think we need that, so that should be fine in theory. Alexandrian data MikroTik. This is a broadcast. Give me 2 seconds. Not mask. Yeah, that's strange because this guy is in a different subnet entirely. That's so weird. Yeah, that is incredibly weird. So we would need to, yeah, we'll need to do something else, something a little bit different, right? Now, I believe so. Because where is this thing? That's a very different subnet, right? Alright, but we'll see about that in a second, I guess. Well, I think multiple purposes. Multiple purposes, all of them, basically. All that you said there, pretty much, yes. So what if I would do something like... What if I would give it a broadcast here? But no, that's not going to work. Okay, so I think one thing that we probably have to do, give me a second. So we have the NAT and masquerade here. We have that there. So this is wrong for sure, most likely. And does this still work? It does. Can we do this? No, that's not what I wanted, yeah. Ah, shit. Did I mess that up? No, okay, good. So that's fine. This should in theory be fine as well. We should be able to access that, right? Destination port 8081. So we're forwarding on this port and we are accepting traffic coming there. The only thing that we might attempt to do is to move this rule a bit up in the firewall, because that could be the issue, right? Could be our firewall blocking the traffic there. So 8081. Yes. And then over here we could try 168. Where's that interface? This guy here, right? But we're port forwarding this, right? I use managed Kubernetes here. I mean, you don't need Kubernetes at all, right? Actually, it could be Windows Firewall, you're right. So, I mean, in general, Kubernetes, you don't need it either way, right? 99.9% of companies on this planet don't need a Kubernetes, right? So we're not doing this because we need Kubernetes. We're doing this because we want to demonstrate full end-to-end. This is also not a matter of I don't want to do it. Most people can't do what we're doing here because this requires knowledge top, bottom up, from all the networking layer to right. So this is not done so I want to build business by hosting my own Kubernetes. Of course not. So we are on the same page there. Right, so nobody is, we are absolutely on the same page here. That's not what, we're not doing this to host a website, right? That's not why we're doing that. It could be the firewall for sure. It could be the firewall for sure, actually. You're absolutely right, that's a good point. Because we are now really just, for demonstrating purposes, just this very simple thing. So if I would, in theory, do this for a second. Even though this is super weird. Maybe it's defaulting. Maybe, I don't think so. I don't see it here. I don't think it is, but let's try. It also could be very easily that my config is wrong, right? Because I don't know right now. It's a little bit hard for me to figure out. Because I'm running the kube config, which is basically a little bit... So I'm not actually sure. I'm not quite sure yet what I should be forward to, right? Because I think our NAT is not properly set up. I don't think it's a firewall on the router because we have the forwarding done here, so this seems fine. We can even move it. Yeah, we can actually leave it here, but the forward is fine. We're forwarding the 8081. But what we could in theory do... Yeah, never mind. So that should be honestly fine. It's just probably NAT that's not fine, right? I can see that I had something like this, right? Yeah, to ports. Forward HTTPS. Yeah, I think so. It should be. It should match, right? Yep. It should match, so I think that's correct. So this is just HTTPS crap, right? So this doesn't really matter. I was just setting up this something very long ago, so that's fine. This is for sure not it, but let's just try. But we need to basically, this would be my, we could try the master node here as well. NAT, destination, NAT, action to addresses, bam. But that's not it, right? And here we need my, so we are already port forwarding to my public IP, right? We need this machine because I believe that I run the port forward here, right? So technically, yeah, but okay. So instead of doing it like this, let's do it a little bit different, right? So I'm gonna just, I'm gonna disable this. I'm gonna disable this as well. And I will also go here and I'm gonna disable this as well. I think that's pretty much what we did, right? So I think what we should do here, that way we will be able to do this. And this is where we're going. I just wanted to showcase that, right? Because right now we're using this cluster type in Kubernetes, right? So we're gonna need some ingress or something that's gonna expose this, right? So if I actually grab this and go here, instead of cluster IP, I'd like to use a service that exposes the deployment outside of the cluster, right? For now. So yeah, so now we can change it to node port, right? So let's read. This is also not what we're gonna end up eventually. To expose your deployment outside Kubernetes cluster, you can change type of service to either node port or load balancer. And we're gonna use this metal LB eventually. I never used it because it's bare metal, right? You in GCP, in AWS, in Azure, you get this done for free, right? Under quotes, for free. But here, basically, I think node port for now is going to be sufficient enough. In this example, this service will be accessible via node IP, where node IP is the IP address of any of your cluster nodes, right? Any of our cluster nodes. Use the load balancer. So this is what we're going to do, right? So this is pretty much the change we're going to make. And then we should be able to, so let me actually close the Ansible stuff. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to, yeah. So I'm gonna give it this fella right here. We're gonna go expose a deployment. And actually, I think, what do we have? Hello world, spec, selector. So I'll just replace the spec part, right? Hello world, ports, TCP 80, target port 80. And then node port 3000, right? This is going to be the port. So this is basically a binding of port 3000 to the 80, right? So I don't know if we can do the... Okay, let's go back here. Okay, so going back here. We'll do something like that. So we're going to say cube CTL, right? Apply F, examples. Oops, where the hell am I? Okay. So cube CTL, right? Apply -f, examples, simple deployments, expose deployment. service hello world configured. So if we go to this guy now, it's not going to be on localhost. It's going to be, I suppose, at least I expect, it's going to be one of these IPs, right? And there we go, right? So now it's exposed outside of a cluster, so I no longer need to port forward it. And now we can make this work on our router, right? So now I can expose this to you guys, right? So what we're gonna do here, we have this port 30,000. So we can just say 30,000 here, right? And then action accept. And then I'll enable this firewall rule. Then we go to NAT as well. We enable the masquerade and destination NAT. And here we'll say destination port 30,000, right? Yes. That's 3,000. Ah, come on, dude. And there we go. So now if you guys go to this, you should be, in theory, able to access my cluster, right? Let me know if you can. Let me know if you see the Nginx page. I think you should be able to. Yeah, there we go. So now you're hitting this Raspberry Pis. Yep, exactly, right? Give me a second. So now, of course, a bunch of you if I go to the firewall, right, I'll probably see some traffic here now. So if some of you refresh the page a bit, right, I can see the packages coming here, right? So if some of you refresh a bit, right, we can actually see the statistics here. So if a few of you can just go and refresh the page a few times, we should be seeing some traffic increasing here, right? You can see that we have around 5 kilobytes per second right now, which means you guys are not, but we will see the traffic passing by here through the firewall. So firewall is going to say, hey Alex, you know, somebody is trying to access some service on this network on port 30,000, right? But you said that's fine, right? So I'll just let them through, right? So it's very imperative when it comes to the MikroTik route, when it comes to MikroTik, Cisco, and these routers, the order of the firewall roles matter, right? If I have some other roles, they could neglect this, right? You can have roles that kind of mutually exclude each other, right? So that's why I moved it a little bit to the top. But now fundamentally, yeah, you can see. But this is not how the setup is going to be done. This is too simple, too insecure, right? So this is going to be way more complicated than that. But the point being is, it's fairly simple to set up and expose your cluster onto the internet exactly like this. So you set up the K3S, you set up the master node, you set up the worker nodes, you have a basic deployment, you expose the service outside of the cluster, and then you expose that specific interface, you create a NAT for that specific port on that specific device. The reason why this works is because this is the IP of my one of my nodes, one of my Raspberry Pis, right? Let's see, and this is the master. This is the IP of the master node, right? Let's see what happens if I give it any other IP. You can see there's 4 Raspberry Pis. Let's see what happens if I do this, for instance, right? So if we go to the NAT again, and we try 241 instead. Let's see if it still works. It still works, right? So let's still make sure that it's our master node. Yeah, I mean, I have a 1 gigabit connection, right? So this I have 1 gig / 1 gig, right? So you could say I have enough of bandwidth for the internet bandwidth to not be an issue. If anything, the issue could be the MikroTik router, right? So say, for example, that I host this Nginx, I move programmer network project to this cluster, right? And one day there's a huge amount of traffic coming in here, right? Well, I think the problem would be also the router itself, the MikroTik router, right? Because then I would have to start fighting the bots, etc., 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 right? So networking infrastructure is very difficult to get right. Let's not forget that, right? Networking infrastructure is not a piece of cake, right? There's DDoSing and there's various types of things that people have to, you know, deal with. So don't forget that. Okay, cool. So now basically, technically, if I would have something that I can develop and use this Nginx for, so if I would have essentially here now, if I would bind some www directory to this Nginx and develop locally, you guys would be able to see these changes propagate as if you were sitting next to me in the same network, right? Cool. Okay. Okay, cool. But anyway, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go to these rules that we've created. So we're gonna go to the firewall. We will in fact disallow this thing. So I'm gonna write a comment here. There used to be many years ago, yeah, there is expose node. So let's just do it like this. And I will in fact disable that, but I will leave it there, and I'm gonna remove these NAT rules. So this and there was another rule, right? There was another NAT rule. Was there? Okay, cool. All right, great. So you should no longer be able, exactly, you should no longer be able to open it, and that's intentional, right? Very good, very good. Okay. So as you can see now, we have learned some basics here, but these basics are pretty powerful, right? And you can see, like, even, I mean, this is how far we got together, but you can see, like, the create a namespace, deploy a simple app. In this case, we really only had an Nginx, right? Nothing else, really. And then we had the, yeah, so again, so create a namespace, deploy a simple application, like Docker, kind of almost like Docker syntax, right? Almost like Docker compose, for example. Hey, I want an Nginx, and I want you to expose it to this port. And then we expose the deployment, and as I said, services in Kubernetes can be little bit complicated because, for example, when you're working with GCP, Google Cloud Platform, you're using service account keys. This can get complicated when Kubernetes setup is complicated. And Kubernetes, well, if you need it, you probably need it because you do have a complicated setup. Otherwise, you don't need it. So say you have customers that need partial access to some services or data or like something like BigQuery, Snowflake and stuff. This is where these services and service account keys are useful because you can give, so this is where Kubernetes shines, is when you have a platform where you need to expose only certain things to these customers of this role, etc., etc., etc. For us here, this is the absolute simplest thing we're doing right now, which is basically nothing. It's just, yeah. So here, for example, now it would be cool. So we need to host the Postgres database on our Raspberry Pis. They can't be in the cluster, they have to be outside of the cluster. So I think maybe we can figure that one out now. So essentially, if I move to the different camera, so these two guys in the middle, as you can see, I have, let me show you. I have 2 hard drives, literally like not NVMe or anything, just the SSDs. Actually, fuck, 1 sec. Yeah, so we have these 2 hard drives, as you can see. One is plugged into the middle Raspberry Pi. The second one is plugged to the one right below the display on the router board. And what I want to do is create some sort of a RAID setup. So first, as I drew today somewhere, let's find where these assets were. So we had some plan today to do a couple of things. So what I want to do essentially is set up 2 databases in some sort of a replica way. I don't know how to do that in Postgres. And that is the beauty of things that you don't know. You learn something new, which is addictive, right? And then maybe have some RAID set up between them, have some sort of a way to, yeah, to ensure some data safety, right? So let's just say here RAID. Let's actually do also, like, we have 2 hard drives, right? SSD 1, we have SSD 2, and they're basically plugged like this. And then like this, right? So these 2 guys, shit, I'm not sharing my screen. So yeah, so this is SSD 1, SSD 2, and then we would want to run them in a RAID. And then there's one ultimate question which worries me the most that I actually haven't solved yet, which is regular RP backup, right? So that's going to be a very important stuff. So say that I do decide to move, let's say, programmer network project and host it here. We need to make sure that things are backed up from our Raspberry Pis, right? From these guys. We need to make sure, right? Yeah, Draw.io is, I work as a tech lead at my full-time job, and I spend probably 4 hours a day just drawing and planning things and suggesting, like, either UI components or designing systems and stuff. So I spend a lot of time. Draw.io for me is the most important tool at my work. because I mostly now just enable others to write code by suggesting solutions. So we'll need to back up things, right? So we need to figure out how we can set up our clone. So we could set up some system where we keep these things. I never obviously had a proper K3S or Kubernetes cluster. So we need to figure out, okay, what it is that we would need to cover some redundancy. So for example, I should probably buy few more micro SD cards, have Raspberry, have this Linux kind of burned onto them, so if something burns. So, but let's not go, I mean, we can go into such detail that it's stupid. We're still doing the basics. But say that this cluster was really in production, I would probably want to have backup Raspberry Pis that I can just switch. What do you think about... To be honest, pen and paper is the best, right? For me, like, at work and here, pen and paper is still by far the best, right? For me, like, there's always pen and paper with me. I always carry sticky notes in my pocket and the pen. So that nothing beats the paper. That's number one. These tools like Draw.io, Miro, Excel-Draw and stuff, they're good if you need to share your notes with someone or maintain the graph, whatever. But I don't think it matters, right? Like 20 years ago, I used the Visual Paradigm, a ULM tool, right? Unified Modeling Language. I used thousands of these probably, or okay, exaggerating by 10x. I probably used hundreds of different, they're all the same crap. Just use the one that you're comfortable with. I use Draw.io because there's no reason. I just used it for so many years that that's why. But they're Miro, for example. So if we would work together, some of us here, we would probably use Miro, because Miro has some of these features which are collaborative, right? So we can collaborate easier. It has WebSockets, and you know, it has the features that you need to. Mermaid I use a lot, right? Mermaid I also use for programmer network. So for example, I can show you some Mermaid. So if I show you programmer network, which is what this stream is generally about, this infrastructure, right? You can see here in the README somewhere, you can see a Mermaid diagram in here, for example, and in many other places. So Mermaid is indeed awesome, right? So you can kind of visualize your, absolutely. Mermaid with Markdown is super powerful as well. I use it a lot. But either way, I think one of the most important skills as an engineer of any kind, mechanical, any sort of engineer, you need to always spend way more time doing this work than doing the monkey coding to work, right? Because once you start coding and once you start building, you want to make sure that you understand the problem. You need to mind map things. Good engineers, they have a huge map of the potential solution, even if that solution is 3 years from now, right? You need to always build things with some mindfulness, right? With some sort of like, I'm building this system now, but how would this system fit in with other potential systems that I might build in the future, right? So that's why drawing these tools up front, of course, is fundamental to success of building anything. Otherwise, you're doomed to fail, 100%. Like, so it doesn't matter. For me, again, this is still the best, and I really love every evening almost. Whenever I'm thinking about something, it's just super fast. With tools, you have to click and shortcut, find this, find that. Here, you just need the pen, and you can move it around with you. You can then sit somewhere else and do it. So it's yeah. That's just my take. Wait, why did I click on that? What do I want to do? Okay, cool. So, yeah, all right. So yeah, so going back to this, what did I want to do? So we should probably set up Postgres and somehow make our Kubernetes to be able to talk to that Postgres. And when I say somehow, obviously, right? Why do I say somehow? Why do I emphasize the word somehow? Well, because Postgres is not going to be part of the cluster, right? The Postgres will be on the Raspberry Pi on the host machine, but it's not going to be installed as part of the K3S cluster. It's going to be just happen to be on one of the machines. I mean, maybe I should just buy some small computer, some mini computer just for a database, right? But I don't want to do that now because this is already an overkill. But you could in theory say we have some, mini PC or whatever here that instead, has this. And this would be our DB instead, right? We could do that, but definitely not right now. So what I'm gonna do now is I'll just set up Postgres on this guy first. So let's say plus Postgres. So let's not do the RAID yet. So let's just do this very simple, right? So this guy is gonna have the database on it, and then our cluster is gonna talk to it somehow on that IP, right? Over the network. Okay, let's do that. So SSH RP2, just my alias, right? So if we go to like I don't know if it's actually here. Actually, it's under SSH, right? So we have SSH. Never mind. Anyway, so let's do it. So we're gonna it's because I'm inside of the RP2. Let me just leave. So I just wanted to show you that. What? Where did I put that? Oh, bash aliases, yeah, but they're not there. So this has to be somewhere in an SSH, right? Yeah, so weird, man. Okay, never mind. Okay. So let's go into the RP2. So we said that on the RP2, basically, on this second Raspberry Pi, we're gonna set up a database, right? We're gonna set this where our Postgres and maybe Redis are gonna be. Yeah, exactly. I realized that. Okay, so here we want to set up. Do we have Docker installed? Shit, we don't. Okay, so we need to install Docker. Let me just think for a moment here. Okay. So we will so basically, it's just telling us, hey, before you try to install Docker, make sure to run this command, this for loop, to potentially uninstall any conflicting packages that would mess up your installation, right? So this is what we want to do. Curl is already installed. Add the repository, right? Cool. Then we apt update. If that's all not found, shit, that's not good. To install the latest version. Yeah, that's not good. Shit. I mean, we could do this as well. Jack. So why is it why doesn't it like it? So what was the issue? It's like we didn't add that repository. Package Docker has no installation. Good, man, good. I haven't streamed in like 3 months. But good, man. Apart from that, very good. Standard stuff, wife, kid, job, gym, running, friends. Not much, man. Haven't been doing it much coding after work past 3 months, to be honest. Not at all, almost. To be very frank with you. Just see, do we actually get anything from the repository? Oh, JS Maniac. Thank you, man. Good to see you as well. That's very kind of you, dude. Thank you for saying that. It's good to be back, and it's good that I was missed by some people. Seaplane. Hey, buddy. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Okay, wait, let's install Docker on 64-bit light version of Raspberry Pi Ubuntu. Actually, wait, give me 1 second. What exactly is the name of it? What I installed in all of the Raspberry Pis is Raspberry Pi OS, Raspberry Pi OS Lite 64. That's the... All right. Zoomed in. So, okay, so that seems to be add Docker official GPG key. Add Docker repository. I think we've done this already, but we'll attempt that again. Interesting. Okay. So we do this. apt key is deprecated. Manage queuing files and trust it instead. See apt key. All right. Sounds good, man. But thank you, dude. Just even for just coming by and saying something. I appreciate that a lot, man. Thanks. Okay. Update the sudo apt update, and let's see if we can install Docker. And so there's so many things we need to figure out. There's so many things we need to figure out, right? And that's gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna do this now and stuff, blah, 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 but yeah. Okay, so that seems to be finding it now because we have added, in fact, a repository for that, right? So that's okay. So essentially, while this is installing, so what we will need to do, right, is we'll need to tell, let's just, so this is our cluster, right? 4 RPs. So, and on one of the Raspberry Pis is going to be our DB. It's going to be, you know, Postgres and Redis. So we'll need to kind of network this properly. So how can they talk to each other, right? So we'll need to figure it out, like probably something with services, something we'll see. We need to make sure that our cluster can access these guys, but nobody else, only our cluster. So we need to do some sort of networking with Docker to only allow access from these IPs, right? So basically with Docker Compose, this would be pretty simple, or Docker Swarm, but I'm not going to be setting any Docker Compose now because actually Docker Compose could be useful in a sense that we could have a Docker Compose for Redis and Postgres, potentially also for something like Neo4j, Elasticsearch and stuff, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, so that should be now installed. System. Okay, executing system install enable Docker. Nice. Start. And nice. Okay, so we have the Docker latest version. Let's see, what did we install? So Docker 27. That's actually very good. So we did, so the repository that we added was the latest. Cool. I finally found my first work as freelance dev, built on VS Code extension for one company that built sites similar to Shopify, got paid. Nice, Jack. Actually, let's see, just before we continue with this, let's see if there's any questions that people have. Let's actually, if there's any discussions, let's have a let's chat a little bit, and then we continue. I want to see if there's some comments. Okay, so let's first talk about Jack. So Jack says he finally got his freelance. Freelance is very difficult, man. Freelance is definitely not the easiest thing to do, especially not as a first job. Of course, if you can, you should try to not seek for that. Of course, it seems that you don't have too much choice. So, I get you, right? Get whatever you can. But freelance is difficult because you might have a lot of work for some period of time. Freelance is actually amazing once you build yourself up and you have a sufficient amount of clients to support, etc., etc. But until that point, it's very difficult because it's a very oversaturated, very competitive market, right? So you just need to, I would advise you, if possible, to look for a full-time job, because you're going to build very different skills working with a group of people versus working alone. What's the reason to have the Redis in a different server? What about the latency? We're not having Redis in a different server. We're having Redis as part of our cluster, but not as part of the Kubernetes. So generally, Kubernetes is, you generally don't host databases as part of your Kubernetes, right? Bexy, good evening. I actually have ads disabled, so if you're getting ads on my stream, unfortunately, you should complain to Twitch. I do not have ads. I never had ads. I will never have ads. It's unfortunately, the feature that Twitch enforces on everybody. So I think the only way you can get ads is to become a subscriber, or whatever is it called here in Twitch, sub or follower, whatever, I don't know. But the only way you can remove them is to pay money. to Twitch basically. So even if you subscribe to this Twitch bullshit, you're giving more money to Twitch than you would be giving it to me. So CrunchyDB operator is a great way to installing posters. Yeah, the thing is, I definitely don't want to have a database as part of Kubernetes. That is, I'm not a DevOps engineer. Keep in mind, I'm a full stack engineer. I'm a tech lead, but I know from other people's pains past many years of my career that hosting a database as part of Kubernetes makes you very miserable in life. So I will much rather keep, this is, of course, we're doing this stream now, a couple of streams. We're setting up bare metal ourselves, and that's a lot of work. But in general, you want a hosted solution for a database somewhere, some managed solution. You don't want to be dealing with that. That is very incredibly painful. I live in a small city in the Balkans. Closest available software dev job is hours away from me and pays a little more than working as a car mechanic. You know that I'm from the Balkans as well, Jack, right? So I'm also from the Balkans originally. I mean, I haven't been living there for maybe 15 years now, but so I know your situation. I know how it is. I left many years ago, 15 years ago. I left the Balkans for the same reason. Because unfortunately, except Belgrade or Zagreb or Sarajevo or some of these capital cities there, you are screwed if you're not there, right? Because there's no IT. So the best thing you can do is lift yourself up and start looking up to go abroad. Otherwise, or go to these capital cities, any of the three. I'm not a fan of remote work. I do not suggest remote work, as many of you know. I think work is more than work is more than your hard skills, right? Work is getting up, dressing up, taking a run to work, having a chat with your colleagues, learning social skills, learning how to talk, how to listen, how to agree, how to disagree, how to manage stress, how to manage conflict. So there's a lot of these skills is what makes us human, right? So of course, with exceptions, yes, some people will say, yes, but I live 3 hours away from my work. These are exceptions. Most people don't live 3 hours away from their work, right? So I think that long-term remote, I think that hybrid work is amazing. And I very often work from home, if my kid is sick or whatever. But long term, I think people should seek to work with other people, because as you grow in your career, the most important skills are the soft skills. If you ever want to become a tech lead, team lead, CTO, engineering director, you can only do that by having skills which have nothing to do with programming, right? And it's very difficult to develop these skills if you're sitting home alone every day or in a coffee shop or whatever. And this is just the hard truth, right? I'm not saying anything against personal preferences of people. You might think sometimes in life that something is good for you when it in fact isn't. Absolutely, Bex. I'm fully with you. In these scenarios, what can you do, right? It's not something you necessarily craved for. You just didn't have a choice, right? I get that. But for most people, that's at least here in Europe, at least here in Copenhagen. In Copenhagen, you can walk the whole city diagonally and straight and back and forward in 4 hours, right? By foot. So like 3 times. So infrastructure here is so good. I run to work and back every day. So I run 10 kilometers to work, 5 kilometers in the morning to work, and 5 kilometers. And on average, I run around... yes, we do. We do. So on average, if I open my Xiaomi fitness app, I run around 23 minutes for 5 kilometers. So it's an hour of running every day. I have doubt in the microservice architecture. It's set to have a separate DB for each service. I have doubt in the microservice architecture. It is said there's no such thing as it is said, right? Practical engineers build infrastructure or anything else based on necessity, right? Microservices have nothing to do with technicalities. Almost, you don't build microservices to improve performance or to reduce redundancy or whatever. That's not the point. A huge point of building microservices is ownership, right? When you break some of your code into microservices, you can better deal with ownership. So who owns this piece of code? So you can reduce friction amongst teams. You can, so of course, so absolutely, 99.9% of products are better off being monoliths than being microservices, because most companies never reach such a scale that require so many different services, right? But there's no theory there. We cannot theorize about it is said, right? There's no such thing in programming as it is said, right? There's no such thing as it is said. I mean, I'm not some sort of an influencer. I don't care, right? I'm a realist, and I've been building apps for 20 years, right? So you make decisions defined by business needs, not vice versa. So you don't just create a huge microservice-oriented infrastructure just because it's cool, right? And some companies do that, and they fail very soon, because Kubernetes is not easy. It's actually very hard, and doing it properly is very difficult as well, right? So yeah. Meantime, my colleagues can open a can of beer after work while I'm alone here. Backseat, it's very tough. Trust me. I'm not talking out of my ass. I spent several years working remotely, and at one point in time, I was full-time remote. At one point in time, I literally installed this extension called. Give me a second. Let me find it. Let me just move this crap here. I literally at one point installed Noisely just to simulate sounds of people, right? I think I spent like several years working remote for an American company. I worked as a teacher in a boot camp. So while I was at Thinkful, I was remote, and that was very sad. That was very sad. So yeah. So I feel you. It's not, I mean, it's, look, I have a wife and kids, so I was never, I don't want to exaggerate, please don't misunderstand me, right? But, you know, when Corona came, like, I worked remote way before Corona and way before it became mainstream, right? And a lot of people today, they feel it's the most amazing thing working remote, right? But very soon in time, you will realize the same feelings that many of us have felt way before it was mainstream, right? People, it's very kind of tempting. It's like, I can just wake up at my home and, you know, like sit on a chair and, right? And some people, very rare amount of people, very little amount of people can actually utilize remote work properly in a healthy way, right? To actually still, you know, finish work when they should. But most people fail at remote work. It's because they're constantly home, and their home becomes the work and work becomes home, right? So there are people who can manage this. There are people who wake up, you know, they go somewhere else, sit in a bar, whatever, etc., etc., etc. But point being is that most people can't, right? Which is why most people on this planet go to the office, right? It's because even if you just go to the office, you know why you're there, right? Anyway, that's what it is. Okay. All right, now I want to set up Postgres on my Raspberry Pi that only my K3S cluster can access. Absolutely, Jack. 100%. You definitely wouldn't. I don't want to host Postgres as part of K3S. I want it to just run separate on error. So no, so this is not what we're gonna do. I want to set it up as a Docker container, not installed directly on RP. So right now, basically what we want to do, as I said, we want to set up Raspberry Pi, the second one from the left. That's where our database is going to be, our Postgres. And then we want all of the 4 Raspberry Pis to be able to access that thing, right? As you can see, we will have to do some setup on Unify firewall, blah blah blah. This is not it. Nope. Exactly. This is correct. Yes. Yes. Correct. Yes. Yes. Okay, so that's correct. Yeah, this is all correct. For sure. Okay. This is all correct. This is all correct. Now the question is... Now the question becomes, do we want to do this like this, or do we want to create an Ansible playbook that does all of this? Because I know that I will have to do this. Let's imagine that my and that is the ultimate question with the backup, right? Like, should we back up the whole host, the whole Ubuntu from these Raspberry Pis, or just certain configurations, etc. So we could do this. I could go now here and pull the Postgres image, do all of this. Can you make that an Ansible playbook? I mean, this is amazing if it works. This is pretty badass, right? That would be pretty awesome, right? So let's go to Programming Network, Ansible, right? That's what we learned to do today. This is our test playground for Ansible. And let's say setup Docker and Postgres, or setup Postgres, right? And let's review this. And this is great, right? Now we're getting to the point where playing with the Ansible Volt start becoming more interesting, because now when of course now for the demonstration purposes and learning purposes, I'm gonna just have dummy things here, but eventually when these are actual real things that, you know, we need to do in production environment and stuff, we're gonna inject these as an environmental variable somewhere, or maybe keep them in a Ansible Vault. Then we want to make sure that they're encrypted and all of that stuff, right? So we're gonna create the host here. We're gonna update our inventory, and here we will. So I'm gonna say So I'm going to create another host, and I'm just going to leave the RP2 in there because that's where we want to install this. But I'm going to still make it, so I'm going to call Raspberry Pis. I'm going to call this databases, right? Or I'm going to say Postgres database. Yeah, I actually used to write some SDL. I used to write some SDL many years ago. Let me try to find it. I think I had a YouTube video on that literally 15 years ago. Give me a second. I have some very old YouTube channel that I made many years ago. Yeah, this one. This is when I was young. And I think I was writing some SDL back then. This is me playing a guitar 17 years ago. Yeah, 17 years ago. Anyway, SDL, this is MikroTik. So this is when I worked as a Cisco engineer. So you can see in this video, this is 15 years ago, let's say, I was making these router boards, right? So I would install router boards, these wireless panels, install these boxes, and then set these on high solitaries and water tower in towns. So yeah, this is my journey. This is me when I was young and with long hair. Look at that. Yep. I'm 36 almost. Yeah, I am. So you can see this is actually, it says 14 years ago, but this is around 16 years ago actually, or even more. So yeah, here I'm setting up the router boards and shit. This is some video games I played back then. Aeon. But where is that video that I'm looking for? Why is it not here? Or maybe it's not on this channel. Maybe it's on another one. No. Oh, no, it's actually this other channel, I think. I have too many of them. I have this one as well. View your channel. Yeah, I think it's this one. And somewhere around here I did some SDL. Yeah, here it is. This is 11 years ago actually. So I did some Qt. This is when I lived with my grandma and my grandfather. I was studying back then, I believe. But this is way more than 11 years ago. I think I probably found these videos back then and then just uploaded them. But yeah, this was, I remember back then, setting up SDL wasn't even simple. Yeah, this was when SDL version was 1.2. What is the SDL today? What is the version? Probably like something way ahead. Yeah. So there's 3.0 and 2.3. So this is basically more than one or two whole major versions back then. But yeah, this was building some UI with C++ and SDL using Qt, right? Qt back then was pretty awesome. I don't know how it is today, but this is what we would use to write interfaces with C++. Yeah, man, memories. Polymer.js. Yeah. Okay, anyway. Cedric, my friend, good evening again. Some history there. Okay, so Postgres database host RP2. Then we will update this so we apply this thing as such. Let's call this test DB. Let's call this test user, test password, PG network, sure. Postgres container name, let's call it test Postgres. Let's actually prefix so that this would be interesting if it works. Let's try. Let's try. Why not? So here we're gonna say playbook, right? But not that. Ansible playbook inventory. And then here we want to say setup Postgres, right? Let's see. So we have SSH successfully to this guy. Ensure that Docker is in fact installed. So now it's running this task. I don't know exactly what is it doing now. It shouldn't be taking that long, I suppose. And then it's gonna try to start and enable it. I know for a fact that it's enabled because that's what we did ourselves, right? You can see. So if we do sudo systemctl status docker, it is active, right? Okay, so it failed. It's fine. It's fine. So start and enable Docker, create Docker network to see if, okay, this is very good. Failed to import required Python library, Docker SDK for Python, or Docker, blah, 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 blah. Please read the module documentation and install it in the appropriate location. If required library is installed, but Ansible is using wrong. Okay, so, I see. I see. So most likely, right, we're missing some Ansible plugin or whatever you call them. We don't know. So let's see what ChatGPT is gonna help us with. Okay, so I suppose these two tasks are missing, right? Start and enable Docker. So it's not Docker Compose, Cedric, it's Kubernetes. But now we're just trying to set up Postgres using Ansible, one of our Raspberry Pis. So ensure pip is installed. So the Python package manager, right? Install Docker SDK. And then we should move this fella apparently below. Okay. Okay, cool, cool. So we try that again. Right? I suppose so. Stream 2.0, Rebecca, good evening again. Yeah, I promised to show up, so I did. Let's see. Change the K. Shit. Okay, I don't know. I'm not gonna read this cryptic message. I wonder if there's a way to format the debug std out from Ansible. That would be pretty. But let's see what it is. Let's learn. It's a part of learning process, right? Here are the solutions. Install the Docker SDK in virtual environment. You can create a Python virtual environment to install the Docker SDK without affecting the system Python. Nah. I mean, we could in theory try this, right? But why do we need this? So, what do we need this virtual environment for? And these first two tasks, what are they doing? No, I'm not asking about that. Jesus Christ, man. What do I need the Python? The question is, what are we doing on the managed node that we need to install these things? Aren't we just setting aren't we just trying to create a Docker network and run a Docker container? Exactly, you're right. The ultimate goal of your Ansible playbook is to set up the Docker container, and it may seem unnecessary to install Python as the manual. The tasks in your playbook that interact with Docker, like creating networks or running containers, use Ansible modules that rely on Docker SDK for Python. Exactly, without the library installed, Ansible cannot communicate with the Docker daemon on the Raspberry to perform these actions. Therefore, installing Docker SDK is necessary to enable Ansible modules. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's exactly what I want, so shut the fuck up. Exactly. I just want to run the commands. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the command module, right? So if you've been here from the beginning, right? This was that command module, right? It was this command module, right? So it's just SSH somewhere and run a command. I do believe whatsoever probably that this is a more accurate way, setting up the SDK and stuff so this Ansible can natively do shit, right? But let's maybe not go that crazy, right? So this is really what I want. So let's try that again. No, it is simple. It's very simple. Trust me. I'm not exaggerating. It's very simple, right? Like, essentially what... I mean, when you think about this Ansible, right? It's basically very similar to if you would automate shit with shell scripts and then automate the automation, basically. Automate the automated, right? So when you... So what they basically done in Python, they built a bunch of these modules that interface with the libraries that already exist, right? So for example, here, what this thing just told us is like, hey, Alex, well, you know, the reason why we need, you know, Docker SDK and other crap, right, is because the Docker Ansible module require these dependencies, right, in order to interface with a Docker daemon on the managed node, on the server itself, right? And because we can't install it now due to something, who the hell knows, right? There's 7 billion variations of Linux. I just said it, you know what? How about you just SSH into my machine and run a command, right? So SSH, open bash, and run docker run, etc., right? Which is what it did, and it actually works, right? So now probably if I do psql here, let's see, actually, so it said that it's running the Postgres now thing, right? So shit. Let's say, what is it called? SSH RP2. Well, psql should in theory work now, but I don't think it does, right? Oh, actually, of course it doesn't, because it's a Docker. So if we say Docker containers, container ps, right? We should be able to see Docker, in fact, running. As you can see, it's up for a minute, right? And it's here, right? So now, in theory, so it's not going to work, but let's try to connect to that database from this computer from which I'm streaming, right? So if we go to our databases client here, I'm going to try to connect. I don't think that I'm going to be able to connect because there's probably a unified firewall rules that I will have to set up. But let's say here Postgres RP2 is going to be the name. Then we're going to go to our Ansible and we're going to copy these hard-coded values that we have there, right? So if we go over here, we're going to say the Postgres database is the test DB, username is test user, host is going to be the IP of our Raspberry Pi. So if we go to, well, actually we have it saved somewhere here in the inventory, right? So this would be the IP. And the password is, I don't know, what was the password? But I'm sure I won't be able to do it. But let's see. Connect. Fuck. Did it? Ah, it worked. Shit. Well, now we're connected to a database. There we go. Right? So we can see there's no tables. So let's create one. Let's say create. How do we create a table? Create table. Yeah, let's do it like this. Create table cars, run, bam, refresh. We have a table cars, right? Insert into cars, Ford Mustang. Insert. I'm too old, man. Like, actually, I had a discussion with my friend Victor at work a couple of days ago. And he asked me some things, and we're pair programming. I'm helping him to do some JSON web token shit with some microservices. And he asked me something, and I'm like, man, I'm old. I no longer memorize anything. And he's like, you know what, Alex? Probably because you're just trying to get rid of useless stuff that you don't need to know. And as you can see here, yeah, so we have a database running now on this second Raspberry Pi there. That's great. What's not great, obviously, right? And we'll have to change that, is that it's already accessible within my network. So you can see I've already created a record, right? Let's create few more, because there's no unique constraint, right? So you can see, so it's great that it works, but what is not great that, again, we want to make sure that only my worker nodes, my cluster nodes, can actually access the database, not me outside of the cluster, right? Because now that's a security issue, right? Yeah, I think Rebecca, I think it's just I think once you, yeah, I think it's just a matter of your brain load balancing things, right? And I think by now in my career, I've been working for so many years for my age. You know, I've been working since I'm 18 and I'm 36 now, right? Is you just I think the moment when the information comes into your mind, into your ear, I think without any latency, your brain either discards it instantly or it keeps it, is because there's so much information, right? I spend so many hours every day at work in the meetings, so it's yeah, you get it, right? Okay, good. So the database works, right? The database works. So now, as you can see, now our Kubernetes, basically, we need to give it a, we'll need to connect our Kubernetes, right, to this database as well. So that's good. All right, so what I'm gonna do while we did this anyway, I think that's awesome, right? So, you know, this morning we learned what is it called? You see, I literally forgot what this tool is named, Ansible, and now we're using it already. So I'm just gonna say here, hey, given this, do the same for Redis. Just to save time, right? because I will want the Redis container as well, right? For sure, for sure. Setup Redis YAML. We're gonna do the same, right? It's gonna be the same Postgres database. Yeah, let's change the inventory. Let's call this Postgres and Redis, and then we'll probably change it eventually again when it's yeah. What about username? Yeah, actually, I remember this when I was setting it up for Programming Network. Yeah, all good, all good. So we'll test this in a second. I mean, it would be pretty cool if it ends up working. I think Nick, don't get overwhelmed. Not to say that you are, because the complex part is, again, you just need to very fundamentally first, like, deeply utilize or understand what they're for. And then once you fully understand, like, because the thing is, for example, look at Ansible, right? And that's great because you don't need anything else. That's the point, right? So that's what you should keep doing forever until the need for anything else arises, right? Docker and Docker Compose for 99.9% of things are sufficient. So you're not doing anything wrong. You don't need to ever look into Kubernetes. This is not, I'm never going to be a Kubernetes expert. That's not the point. But I think knowing what these tools are for, what problems they solve, and when they should be used is very, it can be beneficial, right? But you just shouldn't just learn them randomly, right? So it's and usually this is not a one man job either, right? So don't worry. Okay, so Redis seems to be running as well. Let's connect to Redis. So Redis. Free accounts are limited to 3 connections. Fuck, let's buy the premium. Where do I buy? Premium license. Fuck you, man. Alright, give me a sec. Oh, I actually bought this at one point in time. Okay. Per year. Alright. Shit. Do I remember my PayPal? Crap. I don't think it. Oh, hey Alexander, how the fuck do you know who I am? Wow, it's cool. Oof. I have no idea what my password is for PayPal. Shit. I literally don't remember. No, it's okay. There's nothing really you can see here. I'm not worried. The fuck, bro? Come on, man. Jesus Christ, how hard is it to spend my money, man? Please let me spend my money. Jesus Christ, dude. I just want to spend some cash. Is that like hard? Jesus. All right, come on. Yeah, but I just gave you the new password. Why are you asking me again? Ah. Successfully purchased. Activate. Yeah, this guy is not very literate, but it's okay. Let's make sure that it took the money that it says that it took. Now let me check my banking here. I had $3 million. Do I still have 3 million or not? I'm just kidding, man. If I had 3 million, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't even be talking to you guys. I wouldn't even consider you human if I was rich. Let's face it. All right, that's how it is. Connect. Ah, wrong invalid username. Yeah, but what is... Shit. Test password. Oh. So... Yeah, the port is correct. Wrong password. Where is it, man? Setup Redis, yeah. Require password, yeah. Redis password, right? Yeah. Test password. So why doesn't it like it? Oh shit, wrong IP, right? Wrong IP, shit, sorry, my bad. So let's go here and let's grab the IP. That's why, right? So we go over here. We say Redis RP2 and then we connect. Yes, here it is. Here it is. Okay. So now we have the Redis running here as well. Let's move these things around a bit. So we have the Redis here. You can actually go ahead and create a hash table or something. So we can say, I want a hash with a key of foo and a value of bar, right? Key name, what? Oh. Key name, ah, shit, okay. Please input key name. Banana. Okay, so now we have it, right? Okay, great. So Redis now works on that Raspberry Pi now as well. So that's cool, right? And what does make me happy is these Ansible playbooks, because if things go to shit, this makes it very easy to just reinstall crap. Wasser trinken. That's a bad German. Trinken. Or maybe that's how you say it. Wasser. Okay, cool guys, cool. Okay, let me just write some, let me just extend the to-do here, right? Because there's a lot of shit that I don't like. So first and foremost, right? So let's say here, to-do, ensure that Postgres and Redis are only accessible within the K3S cluster, even if they are not part of the actual cluster. So maybe only expose the services within the subnet of these services, right? So that's one thing, right? Another thing is set up rsync maybe. Set up rsync to Google Drive and encrypt the data before syncing, right? For those of you who don't know, rsync is a very popular tool in Linux world, and it's used to sync files, right? So there's a fly. So rsync, no, sorry, rclone. That's what I meant. I meant rclone. But also rsync. One is based on the other. So rclone has a provider for Google Drive and many others, but I'm going to use Google Drive. So basically we need to set up this, right? Okay, right? Let's just say here, hi. No, let's just say critical. Wait, I'm thinking. Shit, yeah, crap. We need to mount these hard drives, right? So if we go back here, right, to our cluster, you can see these hard drives that I explicitly kind of put in front here. This, you can see this. We need to mount them. We need to network mount them, right? So we need to mount them on the network. We need to obviously set up the rclone. So we need to ensure that the files, that Postgres and Redis store the files on these hard drives, not on the SD card itself. So let's write that down. Crap. Mount the SSD hard drives. Yeah, exactly. Great. Drives should run in a RAID 1 configuration. So we basically want to use these two guys, almost like in MongoDB, I think that's called replicas or sharding or whatever, I don't remember. But fundamentally, we want to make sure that same data is stored, duplicated on both screens, right? Set up some cron jobs to backup things. Which things? What should we backup when it comes to K3S? Let's define the problem. Say that one of the workers, or God forbid, master node dies. Right? That's the fundamental question. Yeah, let's not get over high. Let's just deal with this, right? So what do we need to do, right? What other questions should we ask? What other questions should we ask? Oh yeah, where was that tool as well? So we had this thing that I wanted to take a look at, right? A toolkit for fixing the pains of microservice development. Are your servers running locally in Kubernetes, both tilt? Why am I reading tit? Tit gives you smart rebuilds. I mean, if that's the case, then, I mean, you know, no, I've never met a person who said I hate tits, right? So if this tool was called tits, that maybe, I mean, let's see how it spells. So basically, are your servers running locally? Tits give you smart rebuilds. Yep. Tits give you smart rebuilds and live updates everywhere so that you can make progress. Cool. I like it. Let's see what it actually does. Tell Tits what YAML to deploy. That sounds ridiculous. Tell Tits what YAML to deploy. Build the Tits. Tell Tits how to connect locally. Magic UI, okay. Download Tits. Set Tits in action. See Tits in action. I don't know, I just feel suddenly 20 years younger.
Tilt helps you develop multi-service applications. Here's
See
Tilt,
Tits in action.
and an app running on Kubernetes. Change your code, and Tilt updates your app.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, this is what we need.
Deploy to running containers.
Yes.
Here's a red
That's
image
literally...
filter.
So why do I need this? Why do I need this? Because once we continue building the programmer network and potentially some other products together, I want to be able to save, and I want that to propagate to you guys instantly, right? So, and I mean, that's one of the reasons. There are other reasons as well. Download Tits. I'm not gonna do this now whatsoever. We have a lot more important thing to do, but I'm just familiarizing myself and seeding a idea in your heads as well. Wow, this is such a great feature. Being able to set up an avatar in this tool changes everything, especially Kubernetes related. It's gonna be so much easier to learn all of this stuff. Okay, we'll see. But good, it's on the list, right? But shit, man, actually, let's go back to Tits. Maybe it is the time to do it now, actually. What? Like, do they download from Mac? Contains Docker, kubectl, Kubernetes cluster. What is this? CTL, PTL. Making local Kubernetes clusters fun and easy to set up. Shut the fuck. Want to mess around with Kubernetes, but I don't know, want to spend an ocean and hardware. Maybe you need CTPTL. Say what it is, man. Cattle pastoral is a CLI for declaratively setting up local Kubernetes. And cluster APIs cluster. You can declare a local cluster with YAML and use to set. Nah, shit. Yeah, this is a massive mental overhead. I don't want this, man. Can I just set up? I don't want that. Yeah, fun, right? Exactly. This is completely fun. Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical now. I don't want an abstraction over something that's inherently complicated, right? That's no. All right. Well, that's what it is. That's how it is. All right, let's maybe, okay, I'm getting out of ideas. Let's chat a bit. Let's see if people have any questions. I want to see my wife a little bit and spend some time with her. I think she's still awake. So let's maybe, I'm very happy to chat about anything you guys want. How long has it been? 2 hours, 3 hours stream. Oh my God, man, 3 hours stream. That is crazy. Mega, thank you as well, man. Thank you as well, dude. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you guys are having some fun and learning something. I am, certainly. I'm very happy. I don't have time when you can learn new things in such context like this are very awesome. So I hope you guys are paying attention as well. Of course, it's harder for you to memorize everything because you're not maybe doing it one-to-one with me, but trust me, if you're in tech, even surface level knowledge of some of these things can for sure help you in the moments that you don't even anticipate. Sometimes you're going to get in an interview or discussion and you're going to know some of these things and you never know when you will be able to. Which European cities have the best Christmas markets and activities? Yeah, I don't actually know. Copenhagen has, here where I live in Copenhagen, it's pretty nice for a couple of days during winter around the Christmas time. Paris, I've been once with my wife to Paris in the winter. It was really nice. That was also very nice. I think Vienna can be nice as well. Berlin is pretty cool. Barcelona probably as well. But I honestly don't know. I think Copenhagen as a city is something that I definitely advise everybody to visit whenever possible. It's one of the most beautiful cities, not because I live here myself. It's you could say, oh, that's very subjective, Alex, you live there. No, even all of the friends that I had and family who came to visit Copenhagen, and many of them have traveled the world, they were really impressed by Copenhagen. And I shit you not, it is not biased, I swear to God. I think it's objective based on many people who came and been here, and I think they were very it's really bad. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, Nick. No idea. Yeah, that's just my take. All right. Well, yeah, guys. Let's round it up. It's good to be back. Cedric is saying something. Well, my new job, like everything is new. I feel like a big fat beginner and feel like a bit overwhelmed, but I think it's normal that I'm not really productive at the beginning. Like that shit is older than me and stuff. Well, I think your feeling of feeling like a beginner has to do with your ego, right? You're probably a little bit of an asshole, right? Which is fine. We are all assholes to some degree, right? Somebody is a bigger asshole than the other, but we all have ego and we're all assholes. So that's probably why you feel like that. You are, yeah, of course you are. Who isn't an asshole, right? We're all assholes. It's just on a different levels of magnitude, right? But just be empathetic to yourself and don't be egoistic, right? Exactly. That's good. That means that is amazing, right? There is nothing worse than putting yourself in a position where you always feel like you are someone, right? So you should be very happy with that, because then you will learn, right? You're now in a place where there's other alpha males or alpha females / males, to be politically correct, right? We live in sensitive times, so alpha whatever. Alpha XYZ. So yeah, man, just relax, and if you don't know something, ask it. The worst thing you can do to yourself and organization is fail consistently and not ask for help, right? So just ask if you don't know. People will be happy to help. You have legally even a couple of months of onboarding time, so you're legally allowed to not be mega productive. But if you want to become more productive faster, then you should just already start asking questions, right? Yeah, definitely. The legal part indeed varies, right? But in most normal places out there, yeah, everybody knows that you know, when you employ someone, you know they're going to be liability for some time. And that's why hiring is very expensive, is because you know when you hire somebody, in very rare exceptional cases, somebody is useful. So people are mostly useless until they're useful a couple of months later. Yeah, I mean, it's of course, man. Exactly, you aren't. No, so it's fine, right? But empathy again is developed by working with people, by surrounding yourself by people, by getting rid of your ego as much as possible. Of course, we need ego as well. We need to we need self-respect. We need, but we also need self-awareness. So I guess equation would be self-respect and self-awareness, right? And divided by empathy or some sort of shit like that, right? I don't know what the equation would be, but you need to, of course, respect yourself and not allow yourself to be shut on. But also you need to, yeah, always put yourself in perspective of others and try to understand. And these skills are built by, again, going to work and working with people. Exactly, and always think that you're the best and that others are worse than you. And even if they're not worse, then just gossip them behind their backs. Of course, definitely. I mean, she knows how it's done. All right. Anyway, Cedric, just relax, man, and ask questions, right? And yeah, that's how it is. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, especially all of you guys who keep coming back. That is amazing. And let's see each other maybe tomorrow, maybe after tomorrow. And definitely ask more. Definitely ask more. Will do, Cassie. Will do. I love you guys. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you guys are coming back. Again, as I said many times, you're literally the reason why I'm streaming. So, my pleasure, Cedric, Rebecca, Cedric, Cassie, all of you guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for being around. I'll see you guys most likely tomorrow. Take care, and we speak and see each other soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Cheers.